It's another edition of Not a Journalist with Brian Holiday, and I'm here with Mike Wilcox from Squared Idea.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Mike, how you been, buddy?
Pretty sweet actually. Because of the fact that I'm technically a government employee, I'm still getting paid my normal wages.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. That is
Yeah,
that is something everyone could use right now.
yeah. Luckily enough, also because of what I do, I've been kind of taking the initiative and creating some digital resources. So when I eventually do go back to work, I'm gonna go back with a nice set of stuff. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, man. I mean, this whole situation has led to a lot of people figuring out that they need to figure out different hustles and other means because, like, a lot of the people that I know who work in the restaurant business and the service industry have been like, "Oh, I got to figure something else out," because unfortunately, this situation has led to me definitely not having work, and that's that. Yeah, it's rough. I mean, it's not an easy situation, man. So
It also has to do with trust, right? I mean, it's a very paranoid situation for a lot of people where everybody's kind of, I mean, at one point there was even the question of like the whole big brother idea. Like right now, I don't know if you saw, but they were in the process of setting up complaint departments for people who are breaking social distancing rules. So like
yeah,
you don't even have to phone call, you like send an email.
we were actually talking about that on Geektastic Sci-Fi.
Yeah, like
It's,
that,
it's
with that
getting a little
level of
intense.
paranoia and snitching, it's the opportunity to even trust a restaurant. Like I'm happy that I can cook, and Val's a pretty good cook too. So, we don't have to worry about that. We've been eating pretty sweet stuff. I think in the first 3 weeks, I baked like 4 loaves of bread, and they were like
Oh boy.
nut bread, like walnut and sesame seed and
Well,
stuff. It was great.
what's going on with the bread? And I say that in full Seinfeld voice. What's the deal
It,
with the bread? Why is everyone all of a sudden doing bread? What happened?
a loaf costs like 30 cents if you make it at home.
Okay. So we're
Yeah,
going back
think
to
about it. It's flour, water, salt, yeast. You're not even 30 cents, probably even like 25, 20 cents.
okay, okay,
So for those who are on kind of on a real hard budget, I mean, you got a lot of extra time at home. Everybody's got flour. All you got to do is buy yeast, and then boom. Like I can give you a loaf of bread, like a bread recipe right now that you're going to be like, what? That's like no work and fresh loaf of bread.
okay. Fresh loaves of bread, no machine, just by hand
No,
baking it.
it's the laziest thing ever. All you literally do is you get a big bowl, you throw in like 3 cups of flour, I think 1 tablespoon of active yeast, or
Okay,
activated yeast, 2 or 3 tablespoons of salt, and a cup and a half of water,
okay,
and you let it sit on top of your fridge covered for like I don't know 18 to 24 hours. Well,
okay.
you got to mix it together. You get like spatula or something.
Yeah.
Make sure it's mixed, but you're not kneading it. You just mix it. Make sure there's no dry spots.
Oh, careful
And
with your
then
hand. Sorry.
leave it on top of the fridge in like kind of like a semi-warm environment, and then pull that sucker out, throw it in the oven in a crock pot or a casserole with a lid,
Yeah.
and boom, fresh bread.
Hot damn. Okay. Bread
Yeah,
game
yeah.
strong. Bread
I'll
game
give you a
strong.
recipe later if you want, man.
Yeah, shoot it over. Buddy, so it's the world is in a pandemic quarantine situation. And you are a artist. So I'm
Yes.
wondering, first off, because I've had a lot of artist friends, actually even just friends in all aspects of life, but I had a lot of artist friends saying that their dreams have gotten really, really interesting. Um, so as an artist, because you already have a vivid imagination, and the art you make is really colorful and bright. What are your dreams like right now?
Oh, my dreams are great, but I can tell you probably the majority of the reason why a lot of artists are having great dreams. Would you want to know the reason?
Yes. What's the secret?
The secret is they don't have to go to work, so chances are a lot of them are smoking a lot of weed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, someone else did say that. Someone else
I
did
would
say.
imagine that they're like, what? No work? Okay. And that's it. So and also, I mean, your sleep schedule is according to whatever you want. So, you
Yeah,
could wake up in the morning and that section of time where you have lucid dreams,
yeah, yeah.
it's every day. So, you have that ability to really let your imagination run with itself. Um me, I like I dream, but like I don't usually get my art from my dreams. It's more like from waking stuff and thoughts
Yeah.
in the present, stuff like that. Like I'm not like the kind of person that'll wake up in the middle of the night and jot stuff down after I have a dream. I'll be the kind of person that'll be in the bus and then have a eureka moment and be like, "Oh my god!" and then get out my phone and people are looking at me like, "The fuck's wrong with this guy?"
Hey man,
So
inspiration hits when it hits, right? That's the whole
exactly.
the whole idea of muses and whatnot is just like I remember in Greek mythology when I started reading about the muses and how they would kind of just like choose not heroes, but they'd choose the artists and kind of just randomly a little kiss of inspiration here, or kiss of inspiration there, and then these artists would be like, "Oh, voila, an idea has come to mind." And I always thought that was kind of cool, just the idea that I mean, it's always great. The Greek mythology was trying to figure out ways to explain random thoughts and inspiration, and I like that the idea of these random muses floating around, kissing us all on the heads with knowledge. I mean, not in a quarantine situation. I don't want random ghost people kissing me, but you know what I mean. In the usual situation, I'd be okay with it.
But you know what? Even if you think about it even more, since we have a lot more downtime, it has been said that dreams is your brain's way of processing the events of the day.
Yeah.
So if you spent most of your day not, at work, slaving and like shutting off your brain and just doing your thing and experiencing, reading, writing, watching films, watching shows, you're taking in a lot more. So because you're taking in a lot more and you're filling up that, I guess, like, I don't know, call it the bag of creativity throughout the day, you've got to process that throughout the night. So maybe that's the reason why they're going through this, which is interesting. Like, I mean, I would think that has a huge factor in it as well.
I wish I could go into my bag of creativity and just store the creativity for days where I don't feel as inspired. Because there are days where I don't necessarily feel like podcasting, but I genuinely want to keep up the consistency of podcasting every day. I got laid off from work, and the first thing I did that day was just like, well, I have the time now. Let's just start podcasting daily. So I started podcasting daily. And then like there was one day where I just fell asleep really late in the day and woke up after the time that I usually podcast at. And I felt so I was so annoyed with myself for falling asleep. Yes, exactly. And if I did if I'd stored some of the creative juice and energy, I would have been able to like tap into it right before I jumped on, and I wouldn't have fallen asleep and passed out and missed that opportunity to broadcast that Thursday. I still remember the exact date. It haunts me.
Don't mind me asking, what time do you podcast?
Every day at 7.
So you were asleep before 7?
Yeah, I ended up taking a nap because I woke up really. That's the thing, right? Like you said, sleeping schedules are really thrown off. So I ended up waking up really early that day, like maybe 5 a.m. or maybe even 4:30. And I go to bed at like maybe 11:30. So I think that day I just went to bed at like 11:30, woke up at 4:30, couldn't fall back to sleep, and just felt. And did a lot of stuff. Like I cleaned the bathroom and was like like into my new place because you haven't seen my new place, but the new place.
No, by the way, how's that working out for you?
It's been good. It's a little weird moving into a place and then being in quarantine, so you're kind of just like, oh, I can't really enjoy this new neighborhood that I'm in, and I don't get to go out, and I've been inside this place, this condo, more than I've been possibly anywhere else consecutive days. Just I've gone full 4 or 5 days straight without even going on the balcony, which I realized was not good for my health. I started being like, okay, I at least got to wake, like first thing in the morning. Now when I wake up, go upstairs and go out onto the balcony because I'm like,
smart move.
Yeah, I needed that. I didn't even realize I wasn't doing it until it was just one day where I felt kind of like, when was the last time I was outside? Anyways, all that to say, for whatever reason, I just fell asleep at like 5:15. I was like sitting reading, and then I woke up and it was like 7:45, and I was like, oh, I was supposed to be on at 7, and I was like really annoyed with myself. It was really crappy.
I depend a lot on my partner.
Yeah,
for this.
I hear you. Preach it, man.
It's we worked out a deal where well, not really a deal, more of like the routine where she will make me my coffee and leave it on the bedside table.
Oh, that's nice.
So
man.
like, because like coffee is a natural like wake up smell,
Yeah.
So like, and we get Saint Henri Cafe coffee beans. I love that torréfacteur. I like light roasts. So when I smell it, it smells like apricots and caramel and toffee, and like I know it's there,
Yeah.
and I know it's gonna taste good. So like instead of ignoring it and letting it get cold, it motivates me to be like, it's right there. I can just take a sip right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then after a couple of sips, I'm like starting to wake up. So right now our routine has been like crashing around 1 and I wake up generally around like 10.
Okay. 1 to 10. That's pretty good. That's a solid 9 hours, right?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is great.
Well-
like I love that.
Well, there's a
That's the sleep routine from like my teenage years. So it kind of feels like I'm back to being a teenager,
I mean, yeah. I'm trying my best not to fall into a bad sleep routine. At first, when my partner was on vacation, I definitely fell into a bad one because her and I were both just here, watching TV, doing whatever we wanted. But she's a nurse, so she went back to work, and then when she started going back to work, she's working nights and comes in at 7. So what happens is I try my best not to be asleep when she comes in. One, because the first time I did, it scared the fuck out of me when she walked in because I just heard the door open. Like I was half asleep. Like I heard a sound and I didn't know what time it was. So I was just like, huh? And then the bedroom door flies open and I'm like, what the? And I was like, oh. And she's just like, sorry, I tried to come in quietly, but. And I was just like, that's fair. That's on me. I knew you were going to be home at this time. I probably should have gone to bed earlier. Going to bed at 3:30, knowing you're going to be home at 7:30 was probably not the best because I'm definitely not going to wake up on my own. But yeah, now that she's working nights again, I've gotten back into the routine of usually waking up at around 7:00. She finishes around 7. I usually make her breakfast when she comes in, and then she goes to sleep after a bit, and I just hang out, watch TV, podcast, edit stuff, whatnot. And yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I want to ask you. So, convention, because you guys do the convention circuit. You're
Yep.
comic book. You produce comic books. Squared Idea does a couple comic books now, and you guys are also working with the folks over at Medallion, which I want to talk to you a little bit right after this. But what's it like now that the convention circuit has unfortunately had to take a bit of a blow and slow down during this time?
Okay, well, we have some companies that are doing what is called a virtual, the virtual conventions.
Okay.
So
That's pretty cool.
I believe FBDM is doing that. I think Geek It's considering it, but they haven't announced it yet because they've moved their date way later. I think in even July, August. So they're still kind of playing on the fact that maybe it'll happen. We don't know.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Yeah. But Festival Bande Dessinée Montréal, MCAF, has we've accepted as well. Basically, you do a virtual convention where you kind of set up your content, you do a video. There's also a section of time where you do like a live video broadcast, so people can clue in, know a little bit about you. I'm not 100% sure about how the stores work. I don't know if we're supposed to have our own independent stores and we showcase it, or if they set it up.
Mm-hmm.
We're still kind of figuring that out. Chris is a little bit more on that, but we're definitely going to be doing that.
And Chris is, because for those who don't know,
Chris is Chris Nicholson. Oh, sorry, Chris Nicholson. David Koziel and I, we all own and run Squared Idea.
Yeah,
we're all co-owners.
Yeah, that's dope.
Chris is a writer and an artist. He so far has 3 projects in the works.
Oh, dope.
So, yep. One is solid and 2 are TBD.
Okay.
Or not TBD, to be announced.
Okay, yeah. Trinity is the one that I know. For those of you who are listening to this, you've probably listened to Geektastic Sci-Fi at some point, hopefully. You've already seen Dave. He's one of the co-hosts on Geektastic Sci-Fi. And Trinity is a title that him and Chris worked on. And then the next part, the con circuit and whatnot is affecting everyone differently. But you guys are still working hard, and I saw that you guys joined up with Medallion. What's the story behind that? I just saw the post and I was really excited. I was just like, oh, cool, people are working together. But like, how did that come to be? What's the story behind that?
I think it was just through connecting online. I think Peter, I'm not sure if he ran into us first somewhere. Yeah, I think he met us at Comic-Con.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened. He met us at Montreal Comic-Con last year. And then we just continued talking over time. and we eventually met up, kind of wanted to check out what exactly he wanted to do with us, and he was more interested in doing cross promotion. So, we were just working together, two independent. Well, we're an official studio. We're going to be getting ourselves ordained by the government.
Oh, dope.
As an incorporated company. we should have probably been done by now. But things happened, like pandemics.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how does that feel? That's a pretty big move. I know one of my friends has been pushing me to start doing stuff like that for some of the business, like organizations and structures that I have in place. So what was that like for anyone who's listening and might be interested in incorporating the things that they have?
I would say that going at it with it as a group is a lot easier. There's a lot of loopholes, a lot of responsibilities, and fortunately enough, split between Chris, Dave, and myself, we've got all the bases covered.
Yeah.
We have a business advisor that we're working with, as well as a lawyer that we have that was working with us to kind of guide us as to like what we need to do. And so there's a lot of work, but like I said, because we're three, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. It must be, and it must just feel fun at the end of the day when you complete the project to like look around the table with your crew and be like, "Yo, bitches, we did this ish." Like that sounds fun and cool. That sounds rewarding as hell.
And what's nice too is I consider 2019. It's pretty funny. Like I hated 2019. I found it to be a very lull of a year, with the exception that we released Trinity. Like Trinity was the highlight. Not to say that there should have been something bigger, but I felt like it was one of the main highlights, and nothing much else big happened. Whereas for this year, we were revving up to release a few things. I should have had AWW ready by Comic-Con this year, but since it's Comic-Con's obviously not going to happen.
Yeah, I know they haven't officially announced, but I mean, at this point, it's
not like it just won't.
I know. Oh, don't get me wrong. I understand. I know that a lot of people are holding out hope, but I mean, they put in the ordinance until July 1st, and they're supposed to be the 3rd. That's one of the reasons they're supposedly holding on to the dream. But I mean, at this point, it's rough though. Yeah.
Let's put it this way. For Montreal Comic-Con, right?
Yeah.
There are myriad of allures, right?
Yeah.
There is the meeting of independent artists.
Yeah.
There's different shops that you can go purchase your little this and that's and your trinkets and your comics and whatnot. And what else is there? Major celebrities. Do you honestly think any major celebrity is going to go to Montreal?
No. Dude, I already know, like, the fact that there's so many people in the States who are doing these protests. I actually wouldn't want any Americans coming to Montreal. No offense to my American fans and friends and listeners. I appreciate all you guys, and I'm sure you guys aren't the ones protesting right now. But I am concerned at the fact that the people around you would be protesting, and that you might be coming in contact at some point, some way, somehow, with someone who is definitely not trying their best to avoid public spaces and large groups, and that's what concerns me. I mean, even just the other day, they were saying that they want to open the border back. Between Canada and the United States. Yeah. Well, that's it, right? The president of the United States, whose name I prefer not to say, but the president came out and said, "Oh, well, the first border we want to open back is the Canadian border." And then they're just like, "Oh, it's going to be extended for 30 days." And I was like, "Thank God!" Like, why was that even an idea? We should not be opening that border right now.
Now he's lumped in Mexico at that too. He's like, the Mexican border and the Canadian border, we're going to open up and start doing trade. And I was like, no, we're not. What are you talking about?
Not yet, man. There's still a pandemic. There's still a lot of people dying. It's still a really intense thing. And I think I understand people being upset about the loss of business. I mean, I've spoken to a few friends who are in the convention circuit. Just the other day, key issues shut down. Key Issues sold off the rest of their collection, and they're no longer going to be selling comic books. For those of you who don't know what Key Issues is, they were a comic seller in Montreal. They're regularly at the conventions. I think I've seen Bradley was probably the first person I ever interviewed at a comic convention. My My vernissage presentation that I did in university for my last year was the interview, the mini comic book convention documentary that I did, in which I interviewed him. And now Key Issues is gone and stuff like that. And he said in his post, this situation pushed me to have to close things earlier than I wanted, but unfortunately, that's what I had to do.
That's horrible.
But like I said, you guys are, I think in your situation, it's to your advantage that because things weren't moving as quickly, you guys weren't investing as much in financially for yourselves for the return into Squared Idea. Is more.
Well, I mean, none of us depend on it as a primary source of income.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and it'll be a while before any of us really do. And if anything, I would probably be the first one to like back out or slowly back out of my career because I'm the only one that can, because of the fact that I work with the English Montreal School Board and I can just go on part-time. Whereas, someone who works at a bank or someone who works for like Bell can't be like, hey, so I only want to work 2 days this week.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to work.
Yeah. They're not gonna be as open to the idea as the school board, who has a lot of people who are interested in working. Hey, I mean, working in schools, what's that been like for you? I mean, if you're able to talk to what you do in schools and what your job has become during this situation.
Okay, so basically what has happened. Okay, I'll start with my job. I'm with an organization called Project Harbor, and what we do is we do a lot of crisis management. We do a lot of role modeling, a lot of coaching. What happens is there's 5 or 6 of us, and if there's an extenuating circumstance going on within a school, whether it's with a teacher or students or daycare or I don't know, some kind of program going on, they'll call us in. And
is that your hand tapping?
Is it? Yeah,
sorry,
I will stop tapping my hand.
I was like, something's picking up. Okay, so you're explaining.
So then we get an assignment basically to go in. We have like an objective to kind of provide support for teachers or help a certain group of kids. Like let's say there's bullying going on. We would come up with a way of managing the bullying within the school, and then we would pass it on to the workers in the school and then leave. Sometimes sometimes it's not directly even with us. Sometimes it's coaching the surrounding environment or the team within the school as well.
Okay.
So it's like that. The
That's
ownership
really cool.
is not on me. It's more I go in and I provide support.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I like that. It's funny because as you describe your job, I was thinking of on TV shows, there's always like a fixer who comes in and everyone in the office gets really nervous because they might start cutting jobs or rearranging divisions. But you're a fixer who comes in to actually help and benefit the school and these students so that there's a better opportunity for all people involved. And it'd be cool to see that kind of depiction of a fixer as opposed to the one where everyone panics and starts running around with like chickens with their heads cut off.
Well, there is like panic sometimes because
interesting. Okay.
If you're a teacher and you have your class going on, it's your world. And if you're going to have somebody coming in and telling you what to do,
that's fair.
You're just like, I don't want this person here. Like it could get, but we're pretty good. Like we don't come in with like, a shaking finger or anything like that.
Yeah.
We come in more with like an information-based approach. Be like, oh, I see that you're really struggling with this. I have some ideas for that. Would you like to go over them?
Plus,
so it's more.
Yeah, the idea is to be a teammate to them and not like a management position coming in and scolding them. Because that's
no.
That's good. Okay.
So and during the break, we're looking at more of kind of like resource packages that we can provide schools and teachers so that before we come in, they'll kind of, especially for certain age groups, they'll have an idea as to like what we could suggest or what can approach. So like, because sometimes the request can be made and it could be a month before we come.
Okay.
So, in the meantime, be like, we want to kind of give them a small little package so that, they're not empty handed for a month, and they can look at certain options and do some research online. So when we come in, they'll be like, "Oh, I was reading up on this. Can you help me with that?" And we'd be like, "Yes, absolutely."
That's dope.
So it's a way of kind of I don't know, allowing them to connect the dots before we come in, instead of, because usually when we go in, it's only for like 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
So to like make a lot of changes in that amount of time is pretty intense.
Yeah, yeah. Especially what these kids are in school for 40 something weeks out of the year. Yeah. So for someone to be there for 3 weeks, yeah, I could see that.
So yeah, right now we're all kind of working on that. Me and my partner were working on pre-K all the way to grade 2. So
okay, cool.
We're making kind of like an informal package on that, and then there's like 3 to 6, and the other group's doing high school.
Have you ever had the opportunity to use the art that you create as a means of, I mean, not that you're a therapist, but a means to introduce a different tool, let's say, for kids or teachers even? Because I mean, if I was an artist, I would definitely be trying to use that as much as possible.
That's to be announced, but right now, an artist and myself are working on a project.
I like that. I accidentally found a truffle. I found a truffle in the dirt, didn't I?
We're not going into full announcement yet,
That's
but
fine,
actually, if you want to check out our Instagram at _squared_idea, we actually did our first post, kind of showing a little bit of the content as to what we've been creating.
Okay.
But yeah, it's there is something in the process, but it's not EMSB based. It's more Squared Idea based.
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking for different resource sites in which we can put them on.
That's
because
dope,
there are some people who have made like millions of dollars off of those sites.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's but the fun thing is, a lot of the people, some people do it for the money, but knowing you're genuinely doing it because you just want to offer a cool resource to people.
No, both reasons. Okay. I want to do. I'm 35.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I do want to make really cool stuff, but at the same time, I feel that up until this point, I've made enough and not had anything come back to me except for like gratitude.
Oh,
but like you can't
pay the bills.
Like buy a house with gratitude.
Yeah.
So at this point now, I kind of want to look at my skill sets in that department and see what I can do by myself or in unison with other artists and writers, and fill that gap.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What are some of the other things you'd want to tell people? What are some of the ways that you would recommend people manage their possible anxieties or nervousness in this situation, or just in life in general? Because I know you've always been really good at doing stuff like that. So just in general.
Quite honestly, I've been cooking a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Cooking is a big I always decompress like heavily after I cook. Like even at a hard day at work, I'll cook for like 3 hours.
Oh snap!
And I'll feel so good because I feel productive, and the meal I'm eating is just so delicious.
Are you secretly planning to have a food truck? Is this another?
No, that's way too much responsibility. I don't want to deal with that. Like the loopholes for that in Montreal are ridiculous.
Oh yeah. But, I'm amazed we got them.
There's been that. Sorry, I keep tapping the table.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop that. Also, writing, drawing.
Yeah.
I've been drawing like crazy, and a lot of people would think that it would cause depression or anxiety, but I've been focusing a lot on social media.
Interesting.
Myself, not searching it up, but posting and getting art from different departments. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been posting like crazy now.
Yeah. Squared Ideas.
Yeah, we've been killing it. One of the first things that we did when the pandemic hit, I was like, you know what? We're close to 1,000 followers. Let's have a giveaway. So we did that.
Yep.
That occupied a good week of my time.
And you guys got over the 1K, which is awesome.
Yeah, actually, since then we've already gone over 2K.
That's awesome.
We're at like 2,050 right now.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, I know. I've been having a lot of fun with social media, so Actually, we're going to announce it soon, but I don't mind alluding to it right now. We're probably going to be doing another giveaway. Actually, no, not probably. We're going to be doing another giveaway at 2,500.
Oh, dope.
It's going to be comics this time, though.
Oh, sweet, sweet.
Yeah.
As someone who's read Trinity and read the prequel, the booklet for Trinity, and who's seen all the AWWs in person, this is definitely a big get. So if people are, make sure you start following.
It's going to be 3 comics. I've yet to I'm 99% sure I've talked to Medallion Comics about this, but if I haven't, I'm 99% sure they'll agree.
Mm-hmm.
What we're probably going to do is have 3 winners, and one will be for the Fathom, one will be for Trinity, and one will be for Medallion for Zenith Knights from Medallion Comics.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it'll be 3 separate posts, and whoever links up comments, other tags.
Yeah.
I've got whoever
tags people in the comments,
the most handles, will have that many opportunities to get a free comic.
Dope.
So yeah.
Okay, man. Any last things you want to tell people before we head out?
One really cool thing is that we're not announcing official names yet, but we've had a few additions to our team this year.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
We're not officiating it yet, and we're not releasing it, but in the next month or so, maybe 2-3 months, our team is going to be expanding. So we're really excited about that.
It's a dope feeling when.
Pardon me?
Yeah, it's a good feeling when Franklin Armstrong Collective got up to like 10 different program, like 7 podcasts and 3 radio shows. I was just like, okay, this is a legit thing, man. It's pretty fun, like building this. So
we're really excited about that. It probably would have happened earlier because right before the pandemic hit, we were actually planning I was inviting you a massive meet and greet, right?
Yes, and I was going to be out of town, but then then my trip got canceled. I was like, oh, maybe and then the pandemic, we were all like, no, we should not all meet as a group.
So we probably would have. There's a good chance we probably would have announced it at that point.
Okay,
but because of the fact that we want to cross all our T's and dot all our I's, so but expect that to be coming out in the next couple of months, which is going to be exciting, and a lot more art, a lot more content. Also one other thing that we've added recently on our website is a short stories section.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So from one of our writers, RMJ Patry.
Yeah.
Or is it RMJ or RJM? I'm pretty sure it's RMJ.
Yeah, RMJ.
Yeah. We've been putting up his social stories, his short stories on there. I heard word that an artist contacted him about making one, but it's not official yet.
Cool. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, there some of them are like 11 pages, some are a little bit more. So it could be an attractive, small project to do if you want to get your feet wet.
I do like the fact that when you guys originally started Squared Idea and we sat down and you pitched to me what was going to be the idea behind it, that what you just described, where someone put up a short story and an artist reached out to possibly work with them, is exactly what you guys wanted to do. It was like the dream that you would bring people together, ideas would be born, great art would be born out of these just people sometimes not knowing where to go, but then this is the thing that connects them to be like, oh, this collective that we're part of, this group of people that we're part of has so many webs and connecting so many people. And it's so cool to see it just come to fruition, man. It's dope. It really is. It's great.
Only after 3 years too. Like we're getting close to about 10 people now ourselves. So
that is awesome.
It's pretty neat. It's fun.
Yeah.
And,
it really is.
And that's one of the reasons why I was excited to actually have the big meet and greet, because with you guys included and a couple of other studios that we're affiliated with, it would have been a nice big
yeah. It's a big definitely. Well, dude, once this is all said and done and things get a little bit back to normal, I look forward to doing it. I think it'll be a lot of fun to catch up.
No, it's still gonna happen.
Oh yeah. It's just
wild.
I hear you. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. It was great talking with you. Can I get you to list all the socials? Where can people find all the Squared Idea and your stuff?
Okay, so we've got quite a few. We are mainly Instagram at this point,
Mm.
but for our Instagram, it's at squared underscore idea. For me, I'm Cox the artist, so at COXY underscore artist. Chris is at Chris is a zombie. Dave is at Merc underscore with underscore a mouth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And for our Facebook, at Squared Idea. And yeah, we're not using Twitter so much these days, but I'm resurfacing Twitter a
Oh,
little bit
dude,
more.
I'm definitely getting back on Twitter. I did an interview last year at Comic-Con for CityNet magazine with the actress Eliza Taylor from The 100, and
Okay.
they
Yeah.
released it yesterday, and I just retweeted like saying like, "Oh, that time that I spoke to Eliza Taylor about her recent marriage when I was asked not to." And that has already gotten like retweeted 100 times or some crazy shit. I was just like, "Yo, these kids are serious about the show, The 100." Like, so Twitter is one of those places where sometimes you just hit like gold. You're just like, you don't realize it, but there's just a collection of people online that are really into this one thing and go ham if you post about it. So,
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited.
Well, thanks a lot for having me, Brian.
Dude, my pleasure. I love having people on the show, and you and I have spoken numerous times about how passionate we are about things. And today I was talking to somebody about how this show is such a great way to talk to people about their passions, and all those things we discussed were things you're passionate about, and I know you're generally passionate about it. So that
Oh, yeah.
it was fun to discuss them with you. Thanks, man.
All right, man.
I really appreciate it.
Take it easy.
Peace, man. Have a good one. A court ruled that a photographer gave up exclusive licensing rights by posting on Instagram. And I know when when I was reading this story initially, I really thought about it because I was just like, man, I definitely agree with that ruling. And I know I have a lot of friends who I know don't agree with it, who are really upset at the idea that if you post something on social media, you don't control it anymore. But I gotta say, because so I'll explain the situation a little bit. Mashable, which is a website that does has content, interviews, and all that jazz, did a wanted to feature a picture by a photographer, and they reached out to the photographer. I'm gonna try and find the exact picture. Oh, I made that a little too big for people, and I apologize, but let's fix that real quick. There we go. Okay, so I don't think I have. So they tagged her work in the article, which I guess makes sense, seeing as the whole point of the thing is that. Okay, so Stephanie Sinclair is a photographer. This is her stuff right here below that you can see. And Mashable reached out to her and asked her if they could use one of her pictures. So the plaintiff in the case, Stephanie Sinclair, a professional photographer known for exploring gender and human rights issues around the world. Her work's been featured in New York Times, Time Magazine, National Geographic. She uploaded a picture, an image of a mother and child in Guatemala to her Instagram. Later, Mashable reached out to her and asked her if they could use the image and offered $50 for it. She declined. Mashable used the image by embedding the Instagram post in its story instead. So I'm going to pull that up because I'm guessing their story's still up. Wow, yeah, the story's from 2016. Yeah. Oh, okay, so that's the thing, right? So they embedded the image as opposed to just paying the person for the image. Oh, yeah, I guess they took the picture down. But Stephanie Sinclair's picture was embedded here. So I'm guessing, based on what I read, if National Geographic's, if Mashable reached out and offered $50 to every photographer to be able to use the picture in their story, and there's all these different pictures here, they were willing to spend the money, but I guess they weren't willing to spend a lot of money. I don't know. She turned them down. They embedded the picture anyways, so she sued them. Now, some people, and I posted this on my IG story, asking people what their thoughts were. Do you think that once you post something to Instagram, should sites have to contact photographers before they can post things to their Instagram? And I think 60% of people, somewhat around 60% of people said no, 40% of people said yes. I'm one of those people that doesn't think they need permission to embed. I don't think you have to ask an artist. If I put something online on the internet in a public space, even if it's my art, you can embed it. I mean, unless you've set up the site, so like if you have the option to block embedding on like YouTube, or if you can make sure someone can't embed your content on Spotify, they can't embed your content from Instagram or Twitter or any of the other social medias, then I think, well, you're damn right. I don't want you embedding my content, and I have the right to ask that it not be embedded. That's fair. But if you don't do that and I offer you money and you say no, is it kind of gauche of Mashable to still use the image? Probably. Is it wrong? No. That's the thing. I don't think it's wrong. In the letter of the law, definitely not wrong. It's in poor taste maybe. But here's my thing. If they hadn't offered $50 first and were writing a story and just embedded, would we still feel the same way? Because I see people post regularly and embed, like, I see people post people's tweets in articles even on this site, even on The Hollywood Reporter. I've seen them embed tweets from people, embed Instagram posts from people. When The Rock finished working on a film and he was announcing that they'd finished work, they embedded the Instagram post to the page to be like, hey, this is part of the story. The Rock announces that he has finished shooting on film X. Here's his post about it. Bong, right there. And then to turn around, and if The Rock was just like, oh, I didn't want you guys to post my tweet, but it's embeddable. Like, you have the option to embed this information specifically for the purposes of telling a story, and it gives credit to the person. I'm not embedding this and it cuts out who took the picture or anything. All the information, especially if you're embedding from Instagram, it's tagged with all the information. It is now there. So again, I still think it comes down to the fact that they offered money, she said no, they still went ahead and did it, and then she got upset. I agree she had the right to be upset. I don't think obviously the courts didn't think she had the leg to stand on because she lost the case. She's planning to possibly appeal the case. I don't know, guys. I don't know where that's going to go. I don't think an appeal is going to be the best option, to be honest. Again, I think that in this situation, the onus is partially on you. One of the regulations that they put into this whole thing, not regulations, but one of the things that the judge said was, if you, I'll try to find the exact part. Sinclair granted Instagram the right to sublicense the photographer, and Instagram validly exercised that right by granting Mashable a sublicense to display the photographer, ruled Judge Wood. So that's the idea. If I post something and I have a public, and that's the other thing, her account was public, and that's why. If they had ripped her image, if they screen capped her image and posted it, 100% agree, not allowed to do that. But her account's public. She posted the picture. They used the picture by embedding it into their article. And then she was upset because they had originally reached out to her and offered her $50. She said no, and they still did it. Again, bad form. Wrong? No. Not illegal. Just not respectable. And that's the difference. If we're going to try and hold businesses and people like stuff people to a certain regard, especially if you're a photographer. If you're a photographer and you're an artist, and you consider every picture you take a piece of art, then you also have to recognize that every picture you take is worth something, and you should have a private account on Instagram so that people can't just embed your work for free. And that's unfortunate. You shouldn't have to live like that. But this is a social media world that we live in now. This is the world we live in now. People have access to your content. Anything you post online, even in your private account, is visible. Someone can screen cap it. Someone can share it. People will find loopholes and ways to get around it. And some of those ways will be illegal, but in this situation, it wasn't. That's pretty much it, guys. That was all I had to say on the matter. I know Toby from Geektastic Cypher and That's Canon, who works with me at the Franklin Armstrong Collective, had things to say because he actually works for a company that does licensings for images. And I would have loved to have had him to talk about this. But hopefully, if anything, we can touch on it a little bit on Geektastic Cypher this week. And that brings me to my last thing that I want to tell you guys. Bong, guys, once again, Cult NTL still open. You guys have until May 10th to vote for Geektastic Cypher in Best Podcast category, category 24. I'm telling you, go over cultmtl.com/vote best of MTL. I would love to be on that list again. We've been on the list 2 years in a row. We've worked hard. This podcast, Geektastic Cypher, has been doing it from day one. Toby, Dave, Skinny, myself, we love doing the show on a weekly basis. Even in the quarantine, it's one of the things that, like I mentioned before, I was laid off. I was fine. I was a little down on myself. Wasn't feeling the greatest. But doing podcasting and doing the show with the guys has always been one of my favorite things. I have so much fun doing it. And, it's not like we're going to stop if you don't vote, but the votes are fun and we appreciate them. It feels great to be recognized for the work that we do. Like Mike was saying, everything, it's great and it's nice and we feel appreciated, but sometimes you just want a little extra. And we're not even asking for money. We're just asking you to take your time. There's 25 categories that you have to fill out a minimum for your votes to count. So, head on over and put some stuff down and drop in Geektastic Cypher as number 24. Guys, that's all I have to say today. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode. And I'll be back tomorrow with Jenny is Free. Make sure to follow me on all social medias. Just Google Brian Holidae, Holidae. You'll find me. I'm there. Peace, y'all.